Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sridhana Vallabha Girirvardhana Sridhana Vallabha Girirvardhana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana
Vasudevaya. let us chant the first 3 verses so that we learn them better for the test. Maybe you already learned them, so you can chant from memory. If not, you can find your papers or the books. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam dharupasta vegam edan vegam yogisha edadina sarvam adimam vijivim sashishya adyahara prayasasya prajarpo niyamagara jana sangasya molyamcha sarve bhakti vinashyati Utsaha nishayadharya tata karma pravartanat sangat jagat sadhurite shraddhir bhakti prasidati. Okay, and we continue from yesterday. We will finish verse 2. Let us chant verse 2 one more time. Atyahara prayasasya prajato niyamagara jana sangasya mulyamcha shraddhi bhakti vinashyati. Alright, now who knows what is atyahara?
Weapon?
Pardon?
Weapon? Weapon?
Atyahara. No.
Overeating?
Overeating, yes.
I mean, overindulgence.
Overeating or over-collecting. Now, what is Jana Sangha? Association with worldly people, yes. And what is Prajalpa? What is Prajalpa? What do you say Prajalpa? Yes, mundane talk. And the worst kind of Prajalpa is what? Criticizing others. Now, what is Lolyam? Greed. Yeah, greed. Yeah. Greed. Greed. All right. And what is Prayasa? What is Prayasa? Over endeavoring. Yes, endeavoring for mundane things. And what is the Sanskrit for? How do you say in Sanskrit the following sentence? Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. How do you say this in Sanskrit? Niyamagar. Okay. Okay, you see, you know Sanskrit. Om Agyanativedam Dasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuruniritamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Akhandamadalakaram Vyaptayina Characharam Tatpadam Darshitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Paditam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Vadadasa Raghunatha Hei Chai Guru Karan Charanabandam Jahoiti Vignanashadishtapuram Yasya Prasadagyopi Sadhyak Sarvagyatam Rajetsa Shri Chaitanya Deva Me Bhagavan Samprasidatu Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita. Text 2 teaches us about the dangers and about the poisonous obstacles in the path of Bhakti. When Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that Asat Sangha Tyaga E Vaishnava Char, that who is a Vaishnava, one who is avoiding Asat Sangha. And because from Asat Sangha we become embroiled, we become absorbed in Prajalpa, material talks. From that we can catch some greed, that is desires for unnecessary things, or for material objects, or for material punya, or for mystical powers or perfections and so forth. And then from that we over-collect either food or objects of sense enjoyments, or houses. Anybody loves houses? Or cars. Not very often among the devotees, but also can happen. And then for that we over endeavor, and then Niyamagraha. We have no time or interest to follow the processes of bhakti properly. And then the next natural step, we leave the process of bhakti. So yesterday we were discussing atyahara, over collecting, as the two alternative lifestyles. One is taking shelter of the material energy and then trying to collect more of the material energy. And the other one is taking shelter of the spiritual energy and in this way not being dependent on the material energy. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we can use everything in Krishna consciousness. He's mentioning dictaphones, and in Nectar of Devotion he even mentions missiles. I don't know how do we use missiles in Krishna consciousness, but Prabhupada says it's possible. Rockets.
Fireworks.
Well, fireworks, well, missiles is usually something military. Anyway.
Brahmachari training.
Brahmachari training. Firing a missile where going to the municipality and aiming the big cannon at the municipality and saying, accept Krishna consciousness. Probably wouldn't be a very effective preaching. Right. And then what we need to discuss today is finish with the prajalpa and different ways to avoid it, and then touch on prayasa, how to determine whether this prayasa is for me or for Krishna. Something you have to think about at home. And before that, I wanted to ask you, did you think about how to distinguish when prayasa or over-endeavoring is actually for Krishna or for me? Because the acharyas are saying that endeavoring for, let's say, devotee association, endeavoring for Vaishnava seva is alright, it's not over-endeavoring. And we also know that we can that endeavoring for Krishna is something good. We want to endeavor for Krishna, but at the same time we see that sometimes a devotee endeavors so much that after some time they don't endeavor at all. Right? So it also happens. So why does this happen, and how to find out what is an over-endeavor and what is the endeavor for Krishna and what is the endeavor for ourselves? So what are your thoughts about this? How do we determine that? Because the mind will always try to justify that this is for Krishna. I'm endeavoring for Krishna. Right? Everything will be for Krishna. And this 7th ice cream I'm eating, it's also for Krishna, because I'm celebrating, it's not for me, it's for the sake of appearance of Nrsimhadev. It's in his glory. I'm eating this 7th ice cream.
I guess everybody got intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
at least so much that he can distinguish between, I mean, there are scriptures where we can correspond with scriptures, with sadhu and with guru.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we have some guidelines. It's not just that we are just on our own and the mind can just say whatever he likes.
All right. So there are some guidelines. Prabhupada is saying, okay, the program, the morning program, and there are guidelines. What we do, we chant, all these things, and then we have guru who tells us what should we do, how much we should do, and then we have sadhus who are also guiding us and can tell us. That's why it's important to have friends. And that's why it's important to maintain friendly relationships, because friends are people who know us closely and who will be able to tell us something helpful. They will ask us, if you do something wrong, they will ask us, why do you do that? Why did you do this? Or why didn't you come that time? Or why did you go there? Or something like this, right? They will alert us to something in our life. And sometimes they will give us some strong instruction that will be helpful. Having friends is an endeavor. It's as any relationship, it's a sacrifice. Yeah. Okay. So Guru Sadhu Shastra. Something else that we can use to determine?
Well, when we're about to do something, and as Prabhu said, we have some intelligence and we think it through, and we can judge the result, whether it's for preaching or for Krishna's pleasure or for our own.
Okay, so we can see by the results. Yeah, so we can see by the results. All right. What other criteria can be used?
I mean, how I feel.
How I feel, yes, it's one of the 4 criteria given in Manu Samhita. 3 are Guru Sadhu Shastra, and the 4th is whether you are satisfied with that.
Because if I'm really doing it for Krishna, then it means that I must be feeling some bliss.
Yes.
And others will also be pleased.
Okay.
And another thing, if I do it, there is some personal motive, then if I don't achieve what I want, then I get frustrated. Or if I achieve what I want, then I become proud. So
very good, yes. So if there is a personal motive, by not achieving it I feel frustrated, or by achieving it I become proud. Sometimes there is also a danger that we start doing for Krishna. Then we get the result, and then we appropriate and become proud and say, yes, I did it. Because it's coming, right? The results are coming. So I did the work, and Krishna has sent the results. So, Krishna must be telling me that, I can, it's mine. Yes. So we have to be alert. Yeah, okay, these are very good points. So frustration and pride. Frustration and pride can be some signs. Something else we can use to judge when some work is an over-endeavor. There are some simple criteria.
If I don't find time to change my job.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Exactly. It's quite simple. Eventually, I have no time left for chanting. There is no time left for chanting, or for associating, or for study, for Krishna, for Navavida Bhakti, for the 9 processes of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so by that we can judge that this is an over-endeavor, and so this is an over-endeavor, and as far as for Krishna and for me, it's a constant work within the heart that we have to perform. We have to always check our heart, because as I'm saying, it may be for Krishna at one point, and then all of a sudden it's not for Krishna at another point. Or it's for Krishna and for me, for us both. Or it can even be for me in the beginning, and then at the end I decide to offer it to Krishna. Then it becomes too bad, and the result is terrible, and I say, oh Krishna, I did it for you. in that story, how the guy is carrying puffed rice from the market, and then the wind blows, and all the puffed rice is blown away. So as the rice is flowing, he's saying, Gopal, Bho, Gopal, Bho, this is for you, Gopal, take it. So as you're losing, well, better late than never. Also like Vishwamitra, when he was with this Trishanku. Trishanku was trying to get Vasishta to send him to the heavenly planets, but he wanted to go in the same body, and he couldn't. So then he went to Vishwamitra, and Vishwamitra said, what? He said it's not possible? No, I will do. I will send you. So he sent him up, and then Indra kicked him back, and then he again sent him up. Indra again kicked him back. So then finally Vishwamitra said, okay, if he doesn't want, I will create a separate Swarga with separate Indra, with everybody, and it will be just for you. So he has created this Swarga, this heavenly planet, but then all his mystic power was finished just at that point. He didn't have any more. He had just enough for creation, but to maintain it takes so much energy. So then this planet started falling, started losing the, going off its orbit, And then at that moment Vishwamitra exclaimed, "Oh Hari, oh Hari!" And then Hari came and he said, "Oh Vishwamitra, I didn't know you are my devotee." Before you would always surrender to, first you surrendered to Shiva, then to Brahma, now why do you all of a sudden cry out Hari? And Vishwamitra says, "Oh Hari, Hari, please, this planet is falling, I created this planet, it's falling, only you can maintain." So, alright, so if you're saying that you're my devotee, then okay, I will accept, I will maintain this planet, but please, don't make any more planets. Just first consult with me before creating new planets. So, sometimes we are also like that. So, and it's alright, we tend to, better, at least in this situation, to surrender than not to surrender. That's why sometimes Krishna has to create some dangerous situation to give us some impetus to seek shelter in Lord. Otherwise we will seek shelter in Lord. So we have to check our heart. Why am I doing this? And then recheck and resurrender. Because I may have surrendered as a 19-year-old boy, but then I turned into a 30-year-old man, and then I have a different set of qualities and assets and skills, and maybe it's time for me to resurrender them. Again, surrender as a new person. We seek shelter in Krishna every day, every morning, with every japa and with every gayatri, and with every activity. We want to surrender to Krishna if we're doing anything. All right, and let's for the next verse. So these are the 6 dangerous points. Anybody was, so yesterday we discussed where and when do you face these dangers, and which of these dangers are your favorite dangers. And did anybody caught yourself refraining from some of these yesterday or today? Anybody felt that you were more cautious in your life? Okay, very good. So that's the idea. You have to, in fact, we can even do a little exercise. You can select one of these dangers, especially as we were discussing yesterday, and imagine the situation where you sometimes fall into this danger. Like I told you, for example, about my becoming too absorbed in internet, in some news, and searching for some. May start like a huge article about Darwinism or creation, and then I go further and here and there. Takes so much time. So some situations where we can become absorbed in something, let's say prajalpa or whatever it is, in this case, and again try to think of where and when it happens. Like I told you yesterday, for me personally, it's when I'm tired or after some austerity or after some service which gave me some satisfaction. Paradoxically, I feel, oh, I'm a good boy. Now I can relax a little bit. And then, or where? And then, so picture this situation in your mind. Can you think of this situation where about some of these dangers, and can you picture in your mind this situation where you tend to fall into some of these dangers? And now, can you picture yourself exercising your freedom of choice and choosing something better, choosing something that is more deeply satisfying than that? Can you see yourself? You can even close your eyes, and transport yourself into the future time or past, beyond time, wherever it may, such an occasion may arise. What are the surrounding circumstances, places, what do you do when that happens, what do you feel, what do you hear, what do you see, and then you can try to feel that urge, or whatever it is that we may have, our obstacle, and then at this moment can you try, can you find the pleasure of surrendering to Krishna and taking Krishna conscious action. So just see yourself in this tempting situation, which is like a trap, and then at this moment feel the happiness of making the good Krishna conscious choice. Just you can see yourself, how will it look, what will be your movements, and what will you say to yourself, or what will you hear. And then, can you see that? And then, can you feel the satisfaction of making the right choice? So this is something we need to exercise in our life, to avoid these 6 things which destroy bhakti, vinashya. These things are the destructors of bhakti. So if we don't feel enough happiness in Krishna consciousness, or if some friend doesn't feel enough happiness in Krishna consciousness, then we can check, do they indulge in some of these 6 things? Because they are the things which poison our bhakti, which destroy our bhakti. And you can remember when you were starting to chant, how attentive you were to each name, or when you were starting to perform some actions of devotional service, how fresh and exciting it might have been. And then when you do this for hundreds and thousands of times, then it becomes routine, and it takes no thought, it takes no concentration to do it. And then we might sometimes even forget why we are doing this. Actually, it's quite interesting. There was one experiment with monkeys. They had a group of monkeys, and then they had some structure in the middle, and then I think they put a banana or something on top, and then one monkey tried to climb on this structure, on this ladder, and as soon as the monkey tried to climb, they switched on a very cold shower for all the monkeys. And then quite quickly, as soon as somebody tried to climb that particular something like a ladder, then they were all given a cold shower. So after just a few days, they all learned, don't approach that ladder. Don't come closer to that ladder. And after a few days, they put a new monkey into the group, and then the new monkey didn't know the rule. So sure enough, after some time, the monkey approached that ladder. But as soon as the monkey started going to the ladder, the other monkeys caught this monkey and dragged it back. Don't go there. And very quickly they taught this monkey that don't do this. Then they put in another new monkey, and they took some old monkey away. The other new monkey was also taught it shouldn't touch that ladder. And then they again took away some old monkeys and put some new monkeys. And after a few days or weeks, they replaced all the monkeys. There was not a single monkey which got a cold shower. They were all new. But they strictly followed the rule of not touching the ladder, even though none of them understood why. None of them ever got a cold shower. Well, so in this case, of course, we see that it was a useful tradition, to avoid a cold shower. But oftentimes we do something without understanding. The usual example in India is the wedding, and then how there is a wedding and that's several different stories, but one famous Indian story is how there was a wedding, and the mother was cooking for the big marriage party, and then a cat was running here and there, So then the mother, thought what to do with the cat. So then the mother took a basket and caught the cat and put the cat under the basket. She fixed the cat under the basket. So then the girl, she saw that her mother before marriage, she caught a cat and put the cat under a basket. So then when she grew up and when her daughter was married, she was also cooking, and then she remembered. She said, something is, oh, yes, I remember, there is something I have to do. Okay, I have to find the cat and put the cat under a basket, because that's what my mother did when I was married. So that's our tradition, put a cat under a basket. So it's good to know why we do things. That's also why we study. And if we do something without having the purpose, then we also lose the taste. We don't have so much taste for doing it. So that's the danger of Niyamagraha. And how to counteract Niyamagraha? What will be the antidote to counteract this poison of Niyamagraha, or formal following of some rules? What do we do in order to counteract Niyamagraha? Taste. Somewhere. Right?
See the result.
See the result. Okay, so in other words, you think, why am I doing this? In fact, this is the activity in Satagun. Any person in goodness, before they do something, they will ask, why am I doing this? What for? Not only what for, even maybe a person in passion will try to always see the result, the goal. What do I want to accomplish by this? Right? They will not act in ignorance. But a person in Satagun, they will also try to see what is my motive, what is my personal motive, why am I doing it? And this is actually deeply satisfying if you check your motives before doing something and while doing something. It's a good exercise. You are listening to me and studying nectar instruction. What is your purpose? What do you want to accomplish? By listening to this course on nectar instruction, Upadesamrita, nectar instruction.
Actually, while coming in a dangerous situation in spiritual life, to have a base.
Have a base, okay, basis for dealing with even dangerous situation in Krishna consciousness, okay, these were for this. So become qualified for serving Krishna, as we have read in the preface, that we can enter the world of Radha Krishna Lila by studying the works of the 6 Goswamis, okay, alright, yes?
Maybe to check ourselves if we are deviating.
Okay, to check, am I on the track or am I deviating? Okay, that's good. What else?
Have a deeper understanding.
Have a deeper understanding, okay. Get a deeper understanding, what am I doing and what's bhakti, what's the goal. That's good. And now, this can be the goal, although sometimes, again, you can forget. Right? So everybody has some purpose, everybody has thought about it. Please everybody write down 2 purposes why are we studying this Upadesamrita. Let's all write down these 2 purposes why we are studying this. And can we find some emotional connection? So what is my motive? And we are different people. So some of us will be motivated to avoid something, and some of us will be more motivated to achieve something. Some of us will be trying to go away from something. So to become more flexible, you can to become more rounded in your development. You can try to think of 2 purposes, 2 motives. One is to avoid something, and one is to achieve something. You already mentioned some of these. Avoid dangers, avoid deviations, then speak about remove anarthas, remove lack of taste, convert lack of taste in Krishna consciousness, and positive. What positive do we have? Is it to please Krishna? Is it to please Krishna's devotees? Is it to deepen our enthusiasm? To learn some useful techniques in spiritual life from Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada? Alright, so now keep this focus. So as we study every day, as we study at home, then again, refresh. What are my purposes? What am I doing it for? It's a very, very important habit for any activity. To connect it with your personal goals in life, and also to connect with your personal, individual mission and dream in life. That breathes life into all we are doing. Okay, so now let's conclude with the Prajalpa. I'm not meaning that we will now engage in Prajalpa. Yesterday we were discussing some techniques how to avoid Prajalpa. So we mentioned, we had two we practiced and we mentioned two of them, mentioning that if somebody is criticizing, one is to say that I also have these problems, and thus disarm the person to some extent, or to translate this into a practical plane and say, okay, so what shall we do to help this situation or to help this person, to take responsibility. And some other possibilities that you thought of, how we can redirect a conversation that has gone into Prajalpa? Anybody thought of some more points?
Mention good qualities of the person, of course.
Yeah, so speak about the good qualities of the person who is being criticized. Okay. Yes.
Or realize that everything is a mirror.
Mm-hmm. To see that everything is a mirror. Who was it? Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think Emerson said that people do not realize that when they express some opinion, they describe to the world their own character. Opinion was that they describe their own character. Yeah. Okay. So why? Okay. So we can think: why am I attracting this kind of talk? Right? Am I interested in such things? Why people talking to me about these things? All right. Is it okay? Yes?
One time I heard something which shocked me, that if you criticize somebody, some bad qualities of somebody, you are getting these qualities yourself. Wow. And if you are glorify them, then you are getting the good qualities. It was shocking.
And if you are criticized by somebody,
Then you losing your bad qualities.
yes, then they take away your bad qualities, and you are getting their punya or good things. They have Vidura is saying in Mahabharata. So in this way you are, if you tolerate, if you bear affection. Well, and I promised you that I will tell you some the last ditch, the last resort you can employ when somebody is criticizing somebody in your presence. You can just say that I'm sorry, Prabhu. Excuse me. I have to go to the toilet.
And then when you come back, then
Maybe you don't come back. Find some other topic. we can try to bring Krishna into this. And my experience is that if you do employ any of these techniques, if you actually try to deal with that and redirect the conversation, then after some time the person learns that you don't like criticisms. Moreover, they will themselves feel shy or ashamed a little bit about criticizing, and this will help them also to improve. That's my experience over the years. And we are not like directly even attacking them or trying to change them. We are just showing that we don't enjoy hearing criticism, and usually also you will see that they will start respecting you back. Sometimes we try to join in such conversations because it's a cheap form of socializing. We think that criticizing somebody together is a form of bonding. It's a kind of friendly talk. And sometimes we are afraid to offend the other person by interrupting because we think, oh, he's sharing his heart with me. Right? But the fact is that if we join in mutual criticism, it actually destroys the trust between the people. Because if two of us can criticize somebody behind his back, then it means I show to this friend that behind your back maybe I will also speak something like that about you. Whereas if we show that we do not enjoy this kind of criticism, it usually increases their respect. Maybe it irritates them sometimes, but on the long run it increases their respect and trust for you. It's one of the trust building activities to avoid criticism. We are going to the positive verse. Let's chant together. Utsaha nishchayataya tatta karma pravartana sangatara samurite shakti bhakti vasiyati. Okay. Six points. 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. Being enthusiastic. Maybe, I guess the first should be more like shouting. Enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles such as Shravana, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smaranam, hearing, chanting and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So, 6 principles are there. 3 of them, half of this verse, are attitudes, and 3 of them are actions. So we have 3 things that are actions. Which are actions here? Tat tat karma pravartana, so karma is action, right? And tat tat karma means what, according to Srila Prabhupada? Chanting. So do you know this whole verse? Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam padasevanam atmanam dasyam atmanivedanam vandanam dasyam sakyam padasevanam atmanivedanam. So 9 things. 9 things there. So these 9. Yeah. Okay. Here's the whole verse. Okay. Let's chant this verse. It's in the paper. Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam padasevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakyam atmanivedanam. So these 9 things are direct bhakti. This is the heart of bhakti. No matter how you engage in them, they will be effective to greater or lesser extent. This is Supasida bhakti. This is the bhakti which is bhakti just by taking this one, which is the bhakti just by its own nature. There are 3 kinds of bhakti. One bhakti is becoming bhakti by offering, and one bhakti is bhakti by connection, like good qualities, and this is always bhakti because it's of the nature of bhakti, chanting Krishna's names. So, okay, one action. What other 2 actions are there? Satovrite. Sato vita. So Sato here Prabhupada is translating as following the previous acharyas. So acting as they taught. So they have given some sadhana, they have given some instructions. And what more? One more action is here. Okay, Christian knows, and yes, Krishna. Yes, authority, we just mentioned authority. And Sangatyaga, yes. Sangatyaga, giving up the association of non-devotees or non-devotees, So then three are the attitudes or the moods which are very, very helpful. So these are three activities which are helpful. So as you probably would never have guessed, but chanting is helpful, and hearing about Krishna is amazingly, surprisingly also helpful for advancing in devotional service. Bhakti prasidya to become successful by hearing chanting, and following the acharyas, avoiding non-devotees. Yes. But three attitudes also are very important to make it successful. And these three attitudes are utsaha, nishaya, and dharya. So utsaha means enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Prabhupada is writing in the purport something interesting. He says, without enthusiasm one cannot be successful. In fact, this is almost exactly the same phrase that was said by Emerson. Edison. Edison. I think Edison. Who said that there is no achievement, nobody can achieve anything without enthusiasm. Nobody can achieve anything without enthusiasm. And the very word, the word itself, enthusiasm, is a very nice word. Because you know what it means? It means "an" means in, and the second part, enthusiasm, is coming from the word theos, God. So in other words, it means having God inside. So in other words, being inspired by God, being moved by God. Enthusiasm, literally, having God inside. So that's the origin, the etymology of this word, enthusiasm. So this is the first thing. Prabhupada says enthusiasm means action. Naturally, and he gives a very famous definition of enthusiasm. In my book, it's page 32. Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha or enthusiasm. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in service of the Lord. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. Wow. In the foreground of spiritual life. It's like on the, in the front line. Not somewhere in the back, but on the front line, in the battle. You're acting.
How is it in English? Front line.
The foreground. In the foreground of spiritual life. How do you have it there? So eine praktische Handlung im Vordergrund spirituellen Lebens. So, in front line. So this is enthusiasm, several definitions. So again, what is Srila Prabhupada's definition of enthusiasm?
Having God inside.
Pardon?
Having God inside.
Having God inside. So that's the dictionary definition. So Merriam-Webster or any other dictionary that gives you the etymology, they will say that enthusiasm having God inside. And Prabhupada's definition here that we have just read, endeavor with intelligence, right? So one thing we endeavor, another thing we endeavor with intelligence, because we can also endeavor without intelligence, just be foolishly persistent, and that's not the enthusiasm we are looking for. There is a saying that madness means to continue doing the same thing and expect a different result. So if we are not getting the result we want, means we need to adjust something. If we are not as successful as we want in Krishna consciousness, so these are the things. 3 external and 3 internal attitudes. 3 internal attitudes that can make our bhakti erfolgreich, successful, and make it really what it can be. So, enthusiasm, you have a question?
I just want to ask, like, enthusiasm is something which is coming like naturally. If it's not here, what you do?
Aha! So how do we get enthusiasm? You already have the answer.
Serve Vaishnavas.
Serve Vaishnavas, okay. It's from the second chapter of the first canto. It said, Sanmahat Sevaya Viprap, Punyatita Nishadana. It's saying that by serving Vaishnavas you get taste. You get taste. So taste gives desire, desire moves and gives some enthusiasm. So how do we, yes? How can we develop enthusiasm? Any other suggestions?
To understand Prayojan.
Yes, this is so important. So for developing enthusiasm, yeah, write it down. So can you have somebody who write it down? Write and read. As far as I know, in Switzerland you have this. Huh?
Write and read.
Write and read, because I can write, but then I cannot read what it is.
I can write, but I cannot go out. Can write.
Oh, I can go and
So maybe you can write enthusiasm. How to develop enthusiasm?
it's gonna be a lot? No.
Yeah, we'll have it soon. How to develop enthusiasm?
So das muss lesen. He's always writing. His handwriting is not so.
Ah, that's fine. We can. Beautiful.
Enthusiasm. Anyway, so that means you will have to. Okay. So one. The first one is to see the goal. See the goal. It's when you don't see the ultimate result of why you're doing this, how can you be enthusiastic? Right? But when you see the goal, what are you moving towards, then you can get some energy. And the clearer is your vision of this goal, the more energy you get. The more it's pulling. Right?
So you see the result.
Yes, see the results. Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Prayojan, yes. Prayojan. Yes. What related to this? Connect this to your dream. You can write connected to your dreams.
So this is 2? No.
It is 1A. You can write 2. Yeah, it's 2. Connected to your dreams. So it's good if we have good dreams.
I am not enthusiastic to go to Mangalore. How, like,
Yeah.
yeah, then?
So then
How I
you can
connect to
think
my
why.
dream.
Yes. You can think what does it give, this Mangalarti. So, like for me, what can it give? It can give, let's say, it can give respect to other devotees. Is it good or bad? It's not good to desire. Well, okay, so maybe that's not good enough to motivate us. But it's a very good time for chanting. It's peaceful. You see, and the morning dress of the deities, they're in such an intimate mood. Especially in Vrindavan, you can see Radha Shima Sumesh. It's so intimate. They are mourning. After their Kunja Lila, they are woken up by the most confidential servants, and we can be present and see them. So you can see the deities, and after beautiful prayers to Tulsi, and you can sit and have a completely peaceful time, best time for chanting. So when you see this, then also it's supposed to be good for health if you go to bed early enough. If on a regular basis you are not sleeping enough, then it may be difficult, but otherwise it's very good for health to get up in the morning. You get very, very good company in Mangala.
And you connect to the dream of
Yeah, dream. So dreams. Do you have any dreams?
about Mangalarti? Nightmare.
life. You want to achieve anything.
Yeah. Nightmare.
Can we? Yeah, for some people, okay, you can connect it to your nightmare. You know, then the commander coming with a big stick or something. Yeah, it depends on the person. Some people are motivated positively, some are motivated negatively. We have to connect it to a dream. So, in other words, what is my dream? Is there something that I'm inspired in my life? Like for myself, I would like to learn to chant in samadhi, chant with complete absorption. Right? It's something that would inspire me, that I would actually like to achieve. And the best time to practice it is after Mangalarati. And the best place, the temple room, with other devotees are also focusing and also trying it. And several devotees are trying to chant together. Maybe you have felt that if even just one devotee near you also tries to concentrate on chanting, it somehow creates a certain synergy, a certain atmosphere that makes it easier for you to focus. So, connected to your dream, or to please Guru, to please Srila Prabhupada, to please devotees, and to associate with Krishna, with Tulsi. Okay, so then knowledge. We can know more about this. When we, for example, go to Hari Bhakti Vilasa, read what Prabhupada says about Mangalarati, then, so knowledge and study. So study, research, knowledge, get more information about particular activity, then also it will usually create more enthusiasm. Yes?
There are also the 5 factors of an action.
5 factors of action. So, how do you connect it?
Because one of these items is
Endeavor.
and also I think Srila Prabhupada said when Prabhupada to hear something about enthusiasm before and then they can.
Yeah. So endeavor is one of the factors of every action. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, actually, it's true. Chanakya Pandit says that we can learn from different animals. There are, some things to learn from a dog, some things to learn from a crow, some things to learn from one thing to learn from a lion. Whatever you do it like a lion, wholeheartedly. Like maybe you have seen, like a small dog. Sometimes it wants to do something and it's not sure, so it kind of, it's trying, but it's not sure, so it's undecided. Wholeheartedly, the lion just does it. So Chanakya Pandit says this is what we have to learn from a lion, to be wholehearted in every action. Whatever you do it with your whole heart. I'll give you some information to that. Then association. Yes, by association we can gain some more taste and desire.
Association is double S. No,
Double S. Then somebody else said the best way to cheer yourself is to cheer somebody else. Yeah? The best way to cheer up yourself, make enthusiastic.
Ermutigen.
Begeistern. And there's something with muntern.
Ermuntern, yeah.
Ermuntern. So the best way to cheer up yourself is to cheer up somebody else. So do something for somebody else and see how your enthusiasm increases. So
how do I write cheer up?
Yeah, cheer up somebody else.
How do I write cheer?
Cheerleader.
CHEER.
Like this?
Double E. E.
Cheer.
How you can write Ermuntern?
Yeah. Cheer up.
Somebody else.
Simplest way would be utility.
Pardon?
Utility?
Yes.
Utility.
Or not. For this one, cheer up. If you see the utility, then
If I see the utility,
for something, then you get enthusiastic. Then this
Yeah.
is.
yeah. So if you see the goal, what's your personal connection to this goal, then you become more enthusiastic. Yes. You see the utility. So the utility will be here. That's prayojan is the utility. That's okay. And yes. So enthusiasm. Yes.
Jim Prabhupada said also, if you just do it, you also get enthusiasm.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, just do it actually. When we start doing something. And sometimes like appetite comes from eating, and when we start doing something we can develop taste. Yeah, it's a very good point. And also activity is the antidote to worry. Now, worry is a substitute for work. If we don't want to do something, then we can just worry about it. But if we start doing something about it, then we can avoid worry. Just do it instead of worrying. Is it a registered trademark? Oh, by Nike or something.
Just in case. Instead of
Worrying.
Worrying.
Are you
Worrying?
W-O-R-R-Y. Okay, and one more thing is gratitude. Be thankful for what we have.
This is making your just
So be thankful for what you have gotten from your activity in Krishna consciousness, from your mangalities, and for what we have, and then you can generate enthusiasm.
nice. Thank you.
In fact, there is one famous psychologist. Yeah, I think that's thank you. Thank you. There is one famous psychologist, Martin Seligman, who has been studying depressed people for, I don't know, 40 years now, or more than 40 years. And depression is a big problem in present contemporary world. It's an epidemic, and they say that it will become a disease number 1 according to World Health Organization. And the funny thing is that drugs don't help. The medicine are not effective against it. And this Martin Seligman has been experimenting with non-chemical, non-pharmaceutical ways to deal with depression, and he has developed a whole array of very effective ways to deal with depression, which give 100% result, as opposed to 60% temporary result by drugs. And he gets 100% improvement, and also it's a steady improvement. After 6 months of people being trained in his techniques, they are still are able to be free from depression. So maybe depression is a sort of opposite of enthusiasm or apathy. Maybe not depression, but apathy. But something similar is there. But it's interesting that he's saying that he found 3 things that work 100%. He says 3 of these things, they definitely work for depression. So he says first thing that always helps is self-analysis. So objective analysis of ourselves with comparison to others. He has on his website, I think his website is AuthenticHappiness.org. AuthenticHappiness.org. So, he has tests where you can answer some questions, and then you can see that how you compare to others. And because when we are unhappy or depressed, we tend to think that I'm the worst, or my case is unique. It's so bad that nobody has it as bad as I have. But when we run these tests, we see that okay, I am better than 40% of population. I'm in top 10% of population, top 20. You can see that it's not something unique to just in my situation. And also, he encourages to write a journal, diary every day, with expressing our emotions, writing our emotions, and also analyzing our situation. He even has it on his website. And so this is first thing, objective self-analysis, reflection. And the second thing he says is, that always helps, is gratitude. So he has all his patients every day write 10 thank you sentences. 10 thank you sentences. So the essence also of these verses, these items here, that we can choose, we can substitute a negative emotion for some positive emotion. There is a positive attitude that we can substitute for every negative attitude. So oftentimes it's just a matter of attention or focus.
Mm-hmm.
We always have something to be thankful for. In fact, all of us sitting here in this room are multimillionaires. I think we are billionaires here. Because if you literally, and we often don't realize this, but I recently checked on internet how much is one kidney if you want to buy, and it was between 100 and 300,000 euros if you want to buy one kidney, and I think most of us here have two. So there you go, it's already 500,000 euros. Right? Well, at least 200. And what's the price of a hand? It's price, and heart, and liver, and eyes priceless. So do you, like, if you lost a finger, how you would regret it? Or if you lost eyes or one eye, you would be, you would be ready to pay any amount of money to get it back, right? And we all have. I think everybody here has two eyes, right? So, how often do we thank Krishna? Krishna, thank you for allowing me to have two kidneys, two hands, two eyes. How often are we, thanking Krishna for the gifts he has given to us? Yeah? We have all had, at least 2 meals today. Who has 3 meals today? Can you please raise your hand? Who had 2 meals today? Yeah? 1 billion people in the world are hungry, and they are trying to survive on 1 meal a day. So every 7th person in the world is hungry. And we have a roof over our head. It rains or it's cold, but we have a roof over our head. Do we thank Krishna for this? We have some, we have friends, we have association, we have so many things. We are, if you think about it, we have so many things to be grateful for. And even within the negative things, oftentimes there is something to be grateful for. And a very good exercise is to try to thank Krishna for the negative things that are coming our way. So this is something that you can please do. Every time something happens that you don't like, write or compose 10 thank you sentences to Krishna. You can start by saying, okay, Krishna, this happened to me, but at least I had a breakfast. I mean, this is a good thing, right? It would be worse if I didn't have a breakfast and this happened to me, right? Correct? But then you can go to some deeper ways of expressing your gratitude. You can say, Krishna, thank you for letting this happen so that I learned detachment. Thank you for letting this happen to bring my attention to my weaknesses. Right? Thank you for letting this happen to teach me. Thank you for training me, and so forth. Yeah? You can somehow rather find something to thank for in these things. So gratitude is a very powerful way to change our attitude, to shift our attitude. So enthusiasm, then patience. Patience means you are ready to tolerate. And utsaham nishchayan dharyat. Even if it takes no matter how many lifetimes, we are happy. Like Mukunda, when Mukunda, like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving blessings to every devotee, and devotee says, "How about Mukunda?" And he said, "Mukunda, I don't want to see him anymore. He is going and associating with his Mayavadis, and here he sings with the Vaishnavas, and he goes to the Mayavadis." Felt very sorry for Mukunda, so they wanted to convey this to Mukunda, and so Mukunda is asking, "But when? Can you ask when? When will I be able to see him?" And then they said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "After 10 million lifetimes." So, they came and told Mukunda. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that after 10, he was Nimai at that time still. Gaurahari says that you will be able to see him after 10 million lifetimes. And Mukunda said, I will see, 10 million lifetimes, I will see. What's 10 million lifetimes, right? Compared to eternity. And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Gaurahari Mahaprabhu heard it, then he said, "Bring him here." It's quite interesting. As soon Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhakti Aloka commentary on these verses, he says that we get mercy when as soon as we become patient. So also here, as soon as Mukunda Das was ready to wait, as soon as he became ready to be patient, that very second he got mercy. These 10 million lifetimes were immediately reduced into 1 second. And this is a symptom of surrender, when I'm ready to wait, when I don't push Krishna. To surrender means I'm ready to wait anytime. Let it be on Krishna's schedule. I don't mind. Patience. It's very important, because sometimes when we join, we have some expectations that it will be very fast. After a few months, I will be crying big tears and be shivering in ecstasy. Like one of my friends, when he joined, he joined, and then he thought that I don't have winter boots. I don't have winter boots. But then he thought, anyway, by the time it's cold, it'll be 6 months from now. It'll be half a year, and in 6 months I will be self-realized, so I will not need any boots. So I will not feel any cold. Beyond reality. But we need, therefore, patience.
So this is the third one?
Second.
How to fight depression?
Dharya. I never told you the third one. Yes, the third one, he says, I got distracted, sorry. The third one, he says, Zediman, is go and do something for others. Because all of these, the depression, and it's all self-centered. It's always self-centered. And as soon as you move out of this self-centeredness, which is usually connected with tamas, as soon as you try to do something, give a gift to somebody, say a few good words to somebody, serve somebody, and then see what happens. Let's see what happens. It's magic. It's magic. And that's why it's so important to be around Vaishnavas, right? Because even to do austerity, you need Vaishnavas. Even to do a sacrifice or charity, you need Vaishnavas. A conclusion of every vrata is you go and give gifts to the Vaishnavas. You do give something to the Vaishnavas.
And Prabhu, this teaching of the 5 animals from Chanakya Pandit, where can I find this verse?
You want the verse? I can send it to you. It's
in the Prabhupada shlokas, it's not there.
I will send it later. Yeah. So says that there are 5 things you can learn from a dog, or 6 things. One is that the dog is Swami Bhakta, is loyal. Second is that he can eat a lot, but he can also eat a little and also be satisfied. Another thing is that he can sleep in any condition. Something I need to learn, definitely from a dog. He can sleep in any condition, but he can also wake up very easily, and he is immediately alert. You don't see a dog, like waking up. Like us, He wakes up and he's immediately fully alert. And what was? Yeah, these are 20 things. 1 thing from a lion, 1 from a crane, 4 from a cock, 5 from a crow, 6 from a dog, and 3 from an ass. So one excellent thing that can be learned from a lion is that whatever a man intends doing should be done by him with a wholehearted and strenuous effort, like a lion. And then the wise man should restrain his senses like the crane. Crane? How do you call it?
Kranich.
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 Welke was het?
Kranich.
Kranich is toch een kranich?
En
een crow is een kranich.
Stork. Or klapperstork.
Crane, that's the guy who's sitting on one leg, no?
So we learn from restrain his senses, standing on one leg, and accomplish his purpose with due knowledge of his place, time, and ability. Then so from a cock, cock-a-doodle-doo. What you learn, 4 things. First thing, wake at the proper time.
And
second, to take bold stand and fight. He will fight. Third, to make a fair division of food among relatives. So he divides grains, he loves grains. And to earn one's own bread by personal work. So he goes and collects. So these are the 4 excellent things to be learned from a cock. From crow, union with one's wife or husband in privacy. So nobody usually sees a crow copulating. If one sees it's a very bad omen. And boldness. And then storing away useful items. Storing away useful items.
Crow?
Crow usually, steals something bright and then stores it away.
But the other guy,
Huh?
Black and white.
Illustrators.
Pig.
There it is.
In
Anyway, they all
India.
look same.
Chanakapani is from India.
Chanakapani is from India. Maybe crows there.
Then watchfulness, always watchful, and not easily trusting others. These 5 things are to be learned from crow. Then, satisfaction with little or nothing, although one may have a great appetite. Then, dog we discussed, 6 things. The 6th thing we didn't discuss is bravery. He can eat little, he can eat a lot, he can sleep anywhere, he can wake up easily, then he's Swami Bhakta, loyal, and he's very brave. He can attack, even if he sees somebody well armed. And then from the S, what we learned from respected Mr. S is, although an S is tired, he continues to carry his burden. An S doesn't pay attention to cold or heat. And he is always satisfied. You look at an ass, it's always... So these 3 things should be learned from the ass. He who will practice these 20 virtues shall become invincible in all his undertakings. Chanakya Niti Darpanam chapter 6, verses 15 through 22. So patience, and so this is Dhairya, and Nishaya is being fixed and having faith, complete faith. So now, having faith means, patience. For patience, Prabhupada gives two examples. One example is himself. When he came to America and there was no response, and he was patient. And another example is a newly married wife who quickly wants a child. So Prabhupada is saying that it will come, but you have to wait. You need time. Is like also there is this joke that you cannot get a child in 1 month by making 9 women pregnant. It doesn't speed the process up. It still takes 9 months. 9 months. So sometimes you just need to wait for things to be mature, to grow up, and then faith is probably saying one must be calmly convinced that those who have given up devotion, that there is nothing like devotional service. That by devotional service one achieves everything, and Prabhupada is saying that devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. One is dragged to ultimate success. Once having begun, one is dragged to ultimate success. It's quite interesting. So faith. Shraddha, Shraddha, Vishwas, Kohe, Subhrida, Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti, Hoile, Sarva Karma, Krita Hoy. That Shraddha, or faith, means trust that by Krishna Bhakti everything is achieved. So that's conviction, complete conviction, Nishchay. Firm, unshakable conviction. We can always replace that negative thing in our consciousness with some positive attitude. Here we have 6 medicines for any trouble. We have 6 medicines, 3 actions, 3 general actions, and 3 attitudes. We have discussed how to generate some of these attitudes, like enthusiasm. So you can always try to find something. Prabhupada says in the 5th canto, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says in the Bhagavad Gita that in this world nobody is completely happy and nobody is completely miserable. So there is always something good. So there is no need to maintain the negative attitude. Whenever you have this negative attitude, if you switch for 15 seconds to some of the positive attitudes, if you just make just 15 seconds, it's not long. If you just try to focus your mind on one of these positive attitudes, it completely transforms your whole mood and your whole day. 15 seconds. So we can switch, we can choose, we can replace the unnecessary. We are not the mind, we are not the emotion, we are the soul, which is separate from the mind. And with the help of our intelligence, we can control our mind. We are not fighting our mind, we can just try to direct mind to something positive, just like a child. When the child is crying, sometimes also we are thinking, oh, this is the end of the world, this is terrible, this is so bad. But then like a child, you give the child some toy or say, oh, look here, what is that behind the window? And he stops crying and looks, where? What is that? Yeah. The mind is like that. You just keep its attention on something positive for 15 seconds, and then it grows into a steady positive attitude that's helpful for our life. It's helpful for devotional service and at least keeps us sane. Not to mention that it helps our progress in bhakti and advancement in our path of Krishna consciousness and Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare 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 Hare. Thank you very much. At home, please see if you can connect these 666 items between themselves. Like from if we do not control Vachavegam, urge of speech, it can go into Prajalpa, and Prajalpa is counteracted by Tat Karma Pravartana, by Shravanam Kirtanam, right? So we replace, like this is the line. So these three are connected. Tat Karma Pravartana is the medicine for Prajalpa, which is the result of not controlling Vachavegam. So you can find the five other connections for the 5 other things. Okay.